Clomid. Let's talk about the medicine that drove me completely insane, and I mean crazy. So, Clomid, or clomiphene, I think it's called by the doctors and stuff, but for short it's Clomid. What is it? It's basically a medicine that you take. It's for women with fertility issues like PCOS, things like that. And it basically stimulates ovulation. Whereas if we don't have Clomid, it's very hard for us to ovulate by ourselves because we do have things like PCOS do stop you from ovulating, which obviously if you don't ovulate you can't get pregnant. So what this does is it stimulates ovulation. I was taking it every day for 5 days from the second day of my period, and you do it monthly. So yeah, that's what my dose was, and I was told that you're only allowed 6 months. So what they do is they give you a couple of tests and stuff. I'm really sorry, I can't really remember what they are, but they give you a couple of tests to make sure that your body's going to be able to cope with it because it's quite strong, and then they prescribe it to you. So then when your period comes, you take it on the day that it said that it tells you to, and yeah, you just hope for ovulation. Now when I took it, it worked every time. I mean, it was, I don't know if it's like got 100% success rate in making people ovulate. I probably again should have done more research, but yeah, it helped me to ovulate every single month. I ovulated. But the only thing that I will say about Clomid is that it has a lot of side effects that come with it, and they are side effects that really, really affect your daily life. I have written a couple of side effects here there's a whole list, but I don't need to talk about the whole list of symptoms. I found symptoms online and I thought, right, let me just write down the ones that I experienced because I can only really talk about my experiences. So first off, hot flushes. I mean, trying to sleep or trying to do anything. I mean, I would be sitting there watching TV and straight away, out of nowhere, it would just be like, it would feel like I just walked into an oven, and I would just have to, and this sounds so weird, but I would have to just strip off. If I didn't, I would be like dripping in sweat. I'd feel so hot and uncomfortable. So I just have to strip off while I was watching TV, or I don't know, if I was laying in bed and I got a hot flush, that was it. Clothes were off. I just couldn't cope with it. It was horrible. Another one is breast discomfort, which, I mean, if you're a lady, we pretty much get breast discomfort on a monthly basis. If it's not with our periods, it's, at a certain time in our cycle or through pregnancy or things like that. So I mean, that didn't really bother me. It was quite bad compared to the rest of the times that I've had breast discomfort. It was quite a bit worse, but other than that, it wasn't anything crazy. It was just breast discomfort or pain or whatever. The third symptom that I had to deal with was nausea. Now, I'm quite a sickly person anyway. Anyone who knows me will know that I just feel sick all the time. If I eat too much, if I eat too much sugar, if I eat not enough, if I, anything can make me feel sick. Spinning around in circles makes me feel sick, or heat makes me feel sick, and everything just makes me feel sick. So for that, again, for me, that wasn't a big deal. I imagine for a lot of other women who don't have a lot of nausea during their cycles or during their life, it would hit them quite hard because it did make me feel quite nauseous. The fourth was bloating. That was just annoying, mostly because obviously when you bloat, it's very uncomfortable. but also my clothes just didn't fit right, or they didn't look right, because I just looked massive because I was so bloated. I was like out here. And yeah, so that more than anything was just annoying. Symptom number 5, headaches. Just got headaches all the time when I was taking Clomid, which isn't normal for me. I don't really get headaches that much. But yeah, when I was taking Clomid, I did get quite a few headaches. They weren't extreme, like migraines or anything. It was just like, oh, I've got a headache again. So again, most of these are just annoying symptoms that you'd rather not have, but you just kind of deal with it because you know what the outcome might be. So yeah, headaches. And then number 6, dizziness. I got this a lot. When I first started taking it and I was getting dizzy, I thought, oh, maybe it's because sometimes I have low blood pressure. I thought, oh, maybe it's just that. So I didn't really look too much into it. But then when I did look up symptoms while I was while I was taking Clomid, I did see that dizziness was part of it. And then I realised, okay, yeah, I have been getting dizzy a lot more than normal. But again, that was just, if you stand up too quickly, or if you bend down quickly, or I don't know, things like that. So that again was kind of just an annoyance. Last but not least, I have to take a minute because the last symptom for me is Clomid Crazies. Yeah, Crazies. It drove me completely insane. My emotions were all over the place, and I think being emotional as well as having to deal with, having headaches, not being able to sleep because you're having hot flushes, and having breast discomfort and all sorts of things like that. Yeah, my mood was wild. Wild is the best way that I can describe the way that I behaved when I was on Clomid. It was really bad. Yeah, it was really bad. And mostly I don't even feel sorry for myself. I feel sorry for Yas for having to put up with me, because I was a nightmare. And I knew that I was a nightmare. I would just have these like rushes of rage over like the tiniest things. I can't even think of an example now. But I would just get crazy rage over things that shouldn't even be a thing. Yeah, I would really just go at him for just the stupidest things, and I felt really bad for him. As soon as I'd done them, I'd apologise, but obviously you can't just keep doing things and then apologising and hoping that they'll be okay. Unfortunately, I could not control my rage to the point where, or not even just rage, I was just crying all the time. I couldn't even watch like a film, not even an emotional film, or like even an action film. I would just cry, or I don't know, any other anything would make me cry. If anyone said anything that was sad, it would make me cry. Oh, it was crazy. And what I will say, if you do go through having to be on Clomid, I don't know the percentage of women that get the Clomid Crazies, but it's a big known thing throughout the Clomid community. And what I will say is you really, really, really need good friends around you, because it's all well and good having your partner, but sometimes your partner's gonna need a break. Now, I don't know if maybe I was just a monster and I was the worst out of everyone who's ever taken Clomid, but I was really horrible. And I mean, I'm laughing at it now, but it's actually not that funny, because I must have just been horrid to deal with. And so my best friend, she's known about all of, my trying journey and stuff. And it got to the point where, and this is why I say that it's important to have like really good friends around you when you're taking Clomid, because she would check on me. She'd like ring me after work and be like, oh, how are you doing today? She rang me one day. She was on her way home from work, and she rang me one day and she was like, how are you doing? And I was bawling my eyes out for no reason. I think I was just watching like, I don't know, a program about animals. I was crying at how cute they were or something, I don't know. And I was crying, and she basically just said to me, okay, I'm coming to get you after work. And she just kind of came after work. And this isn't the only time that she did it. She was honestly my rock through taking Clomid. And she would just take me to her house, and we just sit and, I don't know, eat, just chat to her. Yeah, it was really, I think that was a really important thing, to have such a good friend around me who understood and didn't blame me. Yas didn't, but I thought it was really important. The way that I saw my friend was, she was basically giving Yas a break from me. Now a lot of people might see that as like weird, but I really do feel like he needed it, and I understood that he needed a break from this big ball of emotion and rage. And that's what she was. I mean, several times she'd call and say, right, I'm coming to get you, you know, you sound sad or you're crying, or she'd just call and say, how are you doing today, to make sure that she doesn't need to, you know, come to my aid. But yeah, she was great. And also, because Yas knew about the symptoms that came with Clomid, or the side effects, whatever you want to call them, he kind of geared himself up for it. So even if I did snap at him or cry over nothing, which he laughed at me a lot about when I was crying, but even if I did snap at him, he kind of didn't take it too personally, which I think is really important. I'm not saying that it was acceptable in any way for me to behave that way, but I mean, unless you've been on Clomid, you don't understand that there is just no control, unless it's like a split second of like rage and you act on that rage, and then out of nowhere I wouldn't feel rage anymore, and I would be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I can't believe that happened again, kind of thing. And it was just, yeah, it was wild. I mean, this wasn't every day, but I think it was like the period when you're taking it that it really messes with you. So yeah, that was a big thing for me. So yeah, it's called Clomid Crazies, and other women who have taken it know what the deal is. And it's not funny. It's really not funny. But I can laugh about it now that I've been through it. But if you're going through it, I'm really, really sorry. I am genuinely sorry. And just keep going, because you'll get there in the end. You will get to the end of your cycle and you will be back to normal, I promise. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was, did it work? Obviously Clomid helps you ovulate, which means if you're ovulating, you can get pregnant. And that's the ultimate goal when you take Clomid, is because you want to get pregnant. Now I'm gonna say yes and no, or maybe just yes. It did work. I did get pregnant on Clomid. So let me tell you. So they give you the tablets in rounds of 3, and 3-month periods, but you're only allowed to do 6, so they give you 3, and then, you know, you come in, talk about your symptoms, and I think they did like a test to make sure that like my ovaries were okay, like an ultrasound, and then they give you the next 3. So I did the 3, didn't get pregnant, but I was ovulating, so it was a step in the right direction. And then went in, I think they asked me like, have I been getting this symptom, like the dangerous ones? And I was like, nope, been fine with those, just been getting these. And they were like, yeah, that's normal. I think they did an ultrasound just to make sure that my ovaries are still cool, they're still good, which they were. And they said, right, we're going to give you another 3 months. So I was really happy about that. And it sounds weird because I just talked about how bad it is, how awful it is to be on Clomid, but I was so happy because finally, after the year of trying without any help, and not ovulating, it was nice, even though I was going through all of those symptoms, it was nice to actually ovulate. So yeah, I was really happy that they decided to put me on another 3 months. Now, in the second month of those second 3 months, so altogether the 5th month of my 6th month cycle, I got pregnant. So yeah, I guess in that sense it does work, but unfortunately I miscarried, which obviously sucked. But the fact that I got pregnant in the first place was like a big a big thing for me. And I think what made it worse is the fact that I was on the 5th month. I'd taken the 6th month and no luck, and that was the end. I wasn't allowed to do anymore because it's so strong that if you take too much of it, it can actually harm you rather than make you better. So I was desperate for more time on the Clomid, just because I was like, oh my god, it actually worked. So I was desperate to get pregnant again, basically, because obviously the reason I got pregnant was because of the Clomid, and so I was desperate to keep going, but they wouldn't allow me because it would have been bad for my health to keep taking it. And so I think at that point I was feeling really defeated, only because obviously we know when you're booking appointments at the doctors and the hospitals and stuff, you have to wait a really long time. And it's really hard when you're trying to have a baby and you've just touched it and then it's taken from you, and then you just think, oh gosh, how long am I going to have to wait until I get new help? So yeah, it was really disheartening, but I did obviously carry on. But yeah, that was the end of my Clomid cycle. But that's all I have to say on Clomid. I only touched upon my miscarriage, only because I will be talking about that in more depth. I feel like it deserves a video in itself, which is going to be really hard, but I do think it deserves its own video. So if you have any more questions on Clomid, then please leave a comment down below. I'll be happy to answer any questions, or any questions that I know of. And also, if you like this vid, then like this vid. And if you want to carry on this infertility journey with me, then subscribe to my channel.